Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with a little bit of injury updates. So Diego Dalot's back in training. Back recovered from his injury. However, it looks like there might be an issue potentially with Mazraoui. Samuel Lucker saying that Mazraoui not visible in training, imagery or footage. So Sam Mather was drafted into training. Mather is predominantly a winger, so a logical replacement for Mazraoui in the 3-4-2-1 training games. Amram likely to update on Mazraoui's fitness tomorrow. So potentially an injury doubt for Mazraoui. That's a little bit concerning considering he's missed the first start, the opening of the season. Just come back from an injury as well, and then to have him out again, a little bit of a concern, because that was one of the worries, wasn't it, with Mazraoui when we signed him? I remember all the comments at the time around his injury record, but then last season he absolutely smashed it and pretty much was overplayed, played too much, I think, last season, because we started it with no left back, so it was him and Dabo having to play every minute of every single game because of the fact that we let all our left backs go and didn't have anybody. But a little bit of a concern if he is out, but we'll wait for the update tomorrow. It could just be being rested, or it might just be precautionary. So we'll wait and see what happens regarding that. However, Samuel Lucas has also given an update on Senne Lammens. So sources inside Manchester United say Senne Lammens will debut against Brentford. Ruben Amram's decision is based on Lammens' unbeatable record since arriving, earning him the nickname the Iron Dome. Holy shit. So hopefully there's something in that, because we've had a lot of, reports around goalkeeper and the number one. But in my mind, we've signed Senne Lammens to be, he's got to be given an opportunity. But according to Samuel Lucas, insiders are saying that Senne Lammens might be in line to get his debut against Brentford. So that'll be good. But really interesting that he's been given the nickname the Iron Dome as well because of his performances and training. Like, that's good. That's a good sign. Hopefully he can handle the pressure and cope with the Premier League and all of that stuff, because obviously it's a difficult league to play in, a lot more physical. He's going to get, I'm sure, tested at Brentford if he does make his debut there as well. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Obviously, Amram's press conference will be tomorrow. Maybe he'll give something away in there, but that will be really interesting. So give us your thoughts on that in the comments. I think it's about time. We saw Senne Lammens. I think he's had a couple of weeks training now. I get not throwing him in for the City game, but I would have started him against Chelsea at the weekend personally. But I'm not Manchester United head coach, and so yeah, we'll wait and see how that plays out. But give us your thoughts on Senne Lammens' potential debut at the weekend in the comments below. Now, let's move on. So Manchester United have actually, it's not been officially announced yet, but are looking likely to have signed a midfielder. So Manchester United have agreed in principle a principle to sign Fortaleza CEIF defensive midfielder Cristian Orozco, 17. He will join next year upon reaching adulthood. Orozco captains Colombia's under-17 team. Now, that originally came out from a South American reporter, reconfirmed by a more credible South American reporter saying that Cristian Orozco has agreed to join Manchester United. A few weeks ago, they reached an agreement and the midfielder will join the English club when he turns 18. So for those that don't know, since Brexit, we can't sign players from overseas until they turn 18. That's the rule change in the UK because of Brexit. And then that's been confirmed by Ben Jacobs, saying that Manchester United have agreed a deal to sign Colombian 17-year-old holding midfielder Cristian Orozco when he turns 18 next year, and the Athletic as well, who are the Athletic, one of the most credible sources out there, I think, saying that Manchester United have agreed a deal to sign 17-year-old Colombian youth international Cristian Orozco from Fortaleza CEIF. The defensive midfielder is expected to officially move to Old Trafford after turning 18 in July 2026. United, and this has got Christopher Vival's fingerprints all over it, going for these sort of young, up-and-coming players. Like, this is the sort of player, in my mind, that Brighton would sign to replace Carlos Baleba, and now we're doing it, and now we're going for those sort of players, which is, it's exciting in my mind because, I like the fact that we're doing this again, that we're going for these young hidden gems from unknown places and hopefully bringing them in, developing them, and then either selling them if they're not good enough and making some money on that, or they come into the first team, and then you've got yourself a gem for relatively a low cost. I don't see it. I don't have an issue with this whatsoever. Not a player I've ever heard of. I'm sure most of you will agree on that. Let me know if you know more about the player. But I managed to find this online about the player. So Cristian Orozco is a defensive midfielder with maturity well beyond his years. He reads the game intelligently, often stepping into passing lanes and breaking up play before opponents can build momentum. And I like that. I was saying to my brother-in-law the other day about sometimes in midfielders, sometimes it's better just to stand still and block a pass than it is to run around like a headless chicken. Comfortable receiving the ball in tight spaces. He opens up play with composed distribution and looks to shift tempo rather than just play safe. He has a good sense of positioning, works hard without the ball, and doesn't shy away from the physical side when needed. And he does look like a bit of a unit as well. Although he is still developing his leadership as captain at under 17 level and his ability to control the game's rhythm, making him a high ceiling prospect. Now that came from Rising Star 11, who are very good at doing like scout reports and things on young up and coming players and under 23s and all that stuff as well. So it does sound like he's got very good potential. Obviously, we'll need to give him time to develop, a little bit like Diego Leon, time to develop, get used to the league, and like we're doing hopefully with Sekou Kone, where he's come in, had a year behind the scenes. Been a bit unlucky with the injuries he's got as well, but they're seen as potentially, a pathway to the first team for players like that. So yeah, another exciting young talent to bring in. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. But obviously that's exciting. I like going for these sort of players. I like the change in direction, because for far too long United have ignored these sort of signings and allowed them to go to places like Brighton. And then, these players that we're linked with get sold for hundreds of millions of pounds in the future. Not that we're a selling club, but if you could get a young player like that and keep them and they're valued at that sort of amount because they're that good, then I'm all for that. And we've ignored it for far too long. So I love the fact that we're doing this. I'm all over these sort of transfers and stuff. But obviously the reality is we do need ready-made players as well in the first team, specifically in the midfield. So Mike McGrath has said that Manchester United plan to be the front runners next season in the pursuit of a defensive midfielder, a role tipped to headline the 2026 transfer market. Carlos Baleba, Adam Wharton, and Elliot Anderson are all on the radar of several clubs. Now, it's a little bit weird, the report, because Mike McGrath's a good source as well when it comes to United news, effectively saying that United are leading the race for a midfielder. But how can we lead the race for a position? It seems a little bit weird. And the names he's mentioned there are obviously names that we are heavily linked with. Carlos Baleba we know about. I don't need to tell you that we're looking at Carlos Baleba. Adam Wharton, the other one. Elliot Anderson would be a shout as well. Like who would you think? Because Ben Jacobs has come out, I think, in an interview today saying that United possibly are going to go for two midfielders. Out of the three, I mean, I like Carlos Baleba, although his form at the start of this season has been a bit concerning. And Elliot Anderson for me stands out like a sore thumb. When you look at the comparison between them, if you look at the sort of data on here, so Wharton in blue, Baleba in pink, and Anderson in green. Anderson sticks out like an absolute sore thumb as a really good all-round midfielder. Is that the type of profile that we would want, though? Because he feels a little bit more maybe as an 8. Do we need more of a sitting midfielder to someone to play alongside Manu, in which case Carlos Baleba is still, fairly good at winning his duels and everything like that. But look at the kind of comparison. When I look at that, I'm like, hello, Elliot Anderson sticks out like a sore thumb in my opinion. But yeah, is he the type of profile midfielder that we're going for? But those are the names that we're linked with amongst others. There's a few other updates I'm going to go through in a second. So I suppose the question to ask you, who you going for? Who you picking? Carlos Baleba, Adam Wharton, Elliot Anderson. If you can pick one, tell us in the comments if you would want two. You greedy beggars. Let me know which two you would want. For me, I like Baleba and Anderson out of the three names mentioned there. Like I said, I just showed the data and the stats and stuff, and it's hard to ignore Elliot Anderson. He looks a really, really good player. My type of midfielder, someone a little bit all action, can do the passing, the progressive carries, that sort of thing, but then also good work rate, good defensively as well. Like I really like Elliot Anderson personally, but no doubt you'll give me your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, another name linked, though, is Ruben Neves. So Manchester United, Tottenham and Newcastle have all been approached over Ruben Neves' potential availability as he wants to return in Europe. A January exit from Al Hilal can't be ruled out, though a summer move looks likely at this stage. So Graham Bailey again suggesting that Ruben Neves has potentially approached United, Tottenham and Newcastle over a transfer. That's how I reinterpret that. Maybe his agent's putting some feelers out there because he wants to leave the Saudi Pro League and return back to Europe. So maybe his agent is doing what his agent should be doing and seeing if he can generate interest from other teams. Premier League proven, a little bit more experience. So is he 28 now? I believe, going off of memory from previous videos as well. I wouldn't be against maybe, I mean, if you could get him in January for a cheap deal, could that be a viable option? I'm not entirely sure, but Ben Jacobs has said that keep an eye on opportunistic signings 6 months out from a World Cup that want to make a step up or in some cases return back. Ruben Neves, for example, is one to watch. So Ben Jacobs suggesting that United, obviously we need to worry about budgeting and everything like that as well. Do we go big for a midfielder in January? Because it's highly unlikely that, Brighton would want to sell Carlos Baleba in January, depending on their league position, though, as well. Adam Wharton, I think, has got a gentleman's agreement to leave Palace, but in the summer, will Elliot Anderson want to leave Forest if they're still in Europe and potentially sacrifice his potential place in the England team? Like, it's going to be a bit of a difficult window, I think, to sign players when I take a step back and think about it because of the World Cup. So what Ben Jacobs is alluding to is there might be the opportunity to go and get a midfielder that's maybe wanting to put themselves in a position to get into a World Cup squad or a World Cup team, and somebody like Ruben Neves could be one, even if you got him on a short-term loan, potentially to the end of the season, and then save the money to then go for your first and second choice or your two midfield targets once Casemiro goes and potentially Bruno goes next summer as well. We get the cash in for him, who knows? But yeah, so Ruben Neves could potentially be one to keep an eye on, according to Ben Jacobs. Although in his report he did say he's not necessarily saying that there's anything like close or in it at the moment, but he was giving an example of somebody like Neves might be an opportunity for United to go for. But we'll keep an eye on that one. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. And then there's been a bit of mischief around another young up-and-coming midfielder. Brought you a story before saying that he was on trial at United. So Manchester United are close to signing Senegalese protege Mohamed Dabo, 17. B Sport Academy's president is in England to finalise talks with United. Dabo is on trial at Carrington, has been on trial at Carrington's for weeks. Barcelona remains interested. Now, that came from Africa Foot via Sport Witness. Now, Africa Foot, I remember them doing a story saying that Carlos Baleba is effectively signed, and you all told me off for using a clickbait title, which I disagree with, but I changed it. If you remember back in the summer, and I do not trust the credibility of Africa Foot. Turns out that actually my instincts are right on that one because Rich Fay and Steve Ralston, so Steve Ralston writes for the Manchester Evening News, Rich Fay is good when it comes to United, have said reports claiming Manchester United are on the verge of signing Senegalese midfielder Mohamed Dabo are false. And Rich Fay said reports claiming United are close to an agreement for Senegalese midfielder Mohamed Dabo are not true. So that report that came out originally from Africa Foot via Sport Witness that we were close to signing him is not true because, especially Steve Ralston and the Manchester Evening News, very good when it comes to like the youth and academy stuff at Manchester United as well. Who knows whether we might still sign him though, because if he's been on trial, he is very, very highly regarded. Like in the report itself, it actually said that Manchester United's coaching staff are impressed by Dabo's versatile skills, including clean tackling, vision, composure, ball control, leadership, tireless work rate, progressive passing and pace control, rare qualities for his age. B Sports Academy's president is in England to finalise transfer talks with United, so he does seem like he's got a good skill set for somebody of his age as well. And it wouldn't surprise me if we did end up signing somebody like that, because if they've been on trial, and as it mentions in the report, if Barcelona are interested, there must be something in the lad. But the reality is the stories that we're close to signing him are not true. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. It doesn't mean we won't or we can't or we might not get something done in the future. But at this moment in time, nothing further to report there. But give us your shouts on that in the comments below. Now, I need your help. Let me know in the comments regarding this story, right? And this is where we need to be a bit careful. So this was put on aggregator sites online who do a good job. However, I feel this one's a little bit misleading. So it said that Manchester United are seriously interested in Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo, keeping him high on their list for next summer. So that was the way that it was aggregated online and reposted and, doing the rounds and stuff. So I actually read the report itself from Dean Jones, where the headline was that Antoine Semenyo eyed by Prem giants after Bournemouth stars' incredible form sparks interest. And nowhere in the report does it say anything about what was aggregated. So the report itself says that Bournemouth will prepare for another battle to keep hold of Antoine Semenyo in 2026, with Premier League giants expected to reignite interest in the attacker. The Cherries successfully resisted approaches in the 2025 summer window, but Semenyo's strong start to the new campaign has ensured he remains firmly on the radar of some of England's biggest clubs. Manchester United, Tottenham, Liverpool, Newcastle and Arsenal were all linked with the Ghana international last summer following a breakout 24-25 season with 13 goals and 7 assists across all competitions. Ultimately, Bournemouth priced him out of a summer transfer by placing a mammoth £70 million valuation on his head. And then he goes on to say that we understand the player continues to be profiled and considered, though, and Bournemouth expect renewed attempts to praise him away in 2026. So nowhere in that report does it suggest what it does in the aggregated part. It does say on the thumbnail, though, for the story, serious interest. But apart from that, it doesn't say that United are keeping him high on their list high on their list for next summer. So give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Is it misleading, do you think? Semenyo is one. It'd be an interesting signing, Semenyo. And I suppose it would depend on whether we were in Europe or not. If we get European football, we're going to need a bigger squad, and therefore someone like Semenyo could be a viable option. Going to be big money, though, if he's just signed a new contract, and Bournemouth were asking for £70 million last summer as well. And I don't think he's got a release clause or anything like that in his new contract. So he's going to cost an absolute wedge, I think, if he carries on and has a season like this, like he started this season, because he started the season quite well, in my opinion. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that. A little bit misleading, do you think? I kind of, when I read the aggregator side, I was, oh, that's really exciting, potentially going for Semenyo. But then when I read the story, I was like, not quite as serious as what I first thought the report was going to be. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding Jadon Sancho. So Manchester United are ready to ignore their option to extend Jadon Sancho's contract by a year in favour of letting the winger leave on a free. And a report claims a move to Premier League rival is already in the works. Now, I read this on Team Talk, but it's been posted on the Manchester Evening News. I think Samuel Luckhurst has done something regarding it as well, effectively saying that, because there were stories before when he went to Aston Villa, that United were potentially going to do the +1 option on his contract as a way to retain some value and potentially get some money for him next summer. But now it looks like that's going to be unlikely. We're just going to cut our losses. Massive losses as well with his asking price and the wages and the amount of that transfer fees, or the amount of money that we spent on the entire transfer with all in. Absolutely, hands down, in my opinion, the worst transfer we've ever made. I think Jadon Sancho, with all the problems and everything that's gone on behind the scenes and stuff like that as well, easily pound for pound the worst signing we've ever made. In my mind. Let me know yours in the comments. But yeah, not going to do the +1 according to those reports. Obviously, we need to wait and see. But that's probably the best move all around, isn't it? Because then, either way, no Sancho saga next summer. Because imagine if we give him a +1 and then we're just sat here, like, I'm sick of talking about him. Absolutely sick of talking about Jadon Sancho. So hopefully, that's the last time we need to do anything until he actually finally leaves the club, and we can wipe our hands with that whole transfer. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.